It's Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, and here's the latest happenings inside the federal machine. The two teenagers who savagely beat the DOGE worker Edward Big Balls Coristine in Washington, D.C. were sentenced today to simple probation without any jail time. Democrat operatives say that this sets a precedent that violence against conservatives is de facto legal. And I also have some ridiculous, some brain dead, and some hilarious Hakeem Jeffries clips that we'll be checking out. And the FBI has announced that the arrest of over 23,000 violent criminals have occurred so far this year, which is up significantly from last year. The visas belonging to foreign nationals who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk have been revoked. And drug cartels continue placing bounties on the heads of federal agents, and leftist lunatics continue leaving unhinged private voicemails on the phones of federal agents. We also have an update with what the federal government plans to do with China after their announcement to heavily restrict the export of rare earth minerals that are in Chinese control. We also have more Democrats blatantly lying about the state of our government shutdown, and Republicans are continuing to correct the record. And there's a lot more that happened today, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this evening's content. And I do the Swamp Monday through Friday every evening. The video usually posts by 11 o'clock p.m. at the very, very latest. And I've got this from Right Angle News Network. Breaking: DC Judge Kendra Briggs has allowed the two teens who jumped Edward Big Balls Coristine to avoid jail and sentenced them to simple probation, stating her job is to rehabilitate, not to punish. So apparently criminals, they don't get punished anymore. Apparently they're just being rehabilitated. So every time they savagely beat somebody, the only thing that really happens to them is that they just get to enjoy a few months of probation, and that's about it. I believe the male teen received 12 months of probation, while the female received 9 months of probation, and that's it. So this is from Red Wave Press. Just in, Elon Musk has correctly labeled the Washington, D.C. judge Kendra Briggs as a racist judge after she gave two teens probation after they violently assaulted DOGE staffer Edward Coristine. Elon Musk wrote on X, which I actually have right here, as a matter of fact. Elon Musk: "This was a racist verdict by a racist judge. The simple test to apply is if the races has been reversed, the white kids would be in prison. Equal justice for all." And I bet he's totally correct on that. And I think what somebody should do, they should actually look into this judge's record and take a look at her sentencing record and try to find that exact instance, because I'm sure there's somewhere in her record where she probably convicted a white male or a couple of white teenagers who assaulted, I don't know, a black kid or any kid for that matter, probably gave him jail time. I mean, that would just be my assumption. I don't know. I'm judging a book by its cover just based on what I'm reading right here in front of me, which I understand it's not exactly fair to do. So, and I don't know her history. I don't know if she has a tendency of doing this or not. Truly don't know. I'm only reading what I'm seeing on the internet. So, I want to give her a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But dude, to beat him that badly to where he's bleeding all over the place and only giving them just months of probation without any jail time whatsoever is absolutely crazy. You didn't, I don't know, force the parents to pay restitution to him, or at least pay his fucking medical bills or something. I mean, nothing at all, just simple probation. I mean, that seems a little unfair. I don't know how exactly they're going to be rehabilitated as a result of that. What about anger management or something like that? Are they being put into any programs that will help them control their freaking temper and not attack just random people on the street? I don't know. Doesn't sound like it. So anyway, I've got a clip here. So the New York Post says the boy was handed a 12-month probation and allowed to return home under strict house arrest, while the girl was given a 9-month probation and remanded to a local youth shelter. Okay, so she was sent to a shelter. I would assume that she's probably going to undergo some counseling while she's there, I would think. However, he was placed under strict house arrest, apparently not allowed to leave. They don't say how long. They just say 12 months of probation. So the house arrest maybe they explain that in this very extremely short 32-second video, but we'll see.
Reports say 2 teenagers have been sentenced in connection with that August attack on former DOGE employee Edward Coristine. One 15-year-old boy pleaded guilty to felony assault and was sentenced to 12 months probation. A 15-year-old girl pleaded guilty to simple assault and was sentenced to serve 9 months probation. Both were arrested shortly after the alleged attempted carjacking that left 19-year-old Coristine injured in D.C. The attack happened just days before President Trump ordered the National Guard to the nation's capital.
Yep,
Reports
I remember
say
that.
2 teenagers
I
have been
definitely
sentenced
remember
in
that earlier
connection
this
with
year. Frankly, I'm actually kind of surprised that they were sentenced so quickly. You know, that seems like with the amount of arrests that have been happening in Washington, D.C., the crackdown on crime, I'm surprised they didn't back up the courts for years, really. So anyway, let's see. I've already got that, which I read, of course, which Elon had responded to. And then I've got this from Polymath, man. This is interesting. So at first he says tap sign, I guess, you know, tapping at his very disturbing post that he made earlier, he or she, it, whatever the fuck. And it says violence against conservatives is de facto legal. I need my liberal friends to really understand this. These people know they will not suffer consequences for their violence. Things that are not punished are de facto legal. I don't exactly know what the hell he's talking about because they were punished. It's called probation. It's called house arrest. It's called remanded to a youth center. I don't think it was a detention center, though, right? I mean, it was like some a local youth shelter. So not sure if that's punishment. Doesn't sound like it. It sounds like she just doesn't have anywhere else to live. So they're going to make her live in a youth shelter. But anyway, that's what one liberal out there is saying. I can only imagine what the other ones are saying, but they're basically saying, yeah, you got a green light, man. You can go assault any conservatives you want, inflict violence. It's de facto legal at this point. And this just strengthens the argument that if you live in a place where the Second Amendment hasn't been completely extinguished unjustly and unlawfully, then carry a firearm, because if somebody tries to attack you, even if they are some unhinged lunatic teenager, shoot them. I mean, that's what you do. You fucking shoot them. And that's what I would suggest conservatives do. Just exercise your Second Amendment right, and you're not going to have these kind of problems, because then liberals will get very scared of you very fucking quick, as they should be, because you shouldn't be attacking people you don't know, because you don't know what they're capable of. And that, I guess, I'll just leave it at that. And this is from the New York Post. I'll go ahead and open up the article and see if there's anything else. I think we already got the gist of it, though, to be honest. But anyway, teens who jumped ex-DOGE staffer Edward Bidballs Coristine avoid jail, sentenced to probation, published today. And what do we got here? Oh, hey, look at this. We actually have an interview. We have an interview by him. How do I do this without making this look all jacked up? What the fuck is going on with this thing? Why is it like that? I don't know why it's like that. What the hell's going on, Fox News? And okay, here we go.
We were wrapping up.
This is, hold on a minute, man. I can't do this. This is fucking weird. What the hell's going on, Fox News? Or New York Post or whoever the hell. Okay, it looks a little better. Maybe. Oh, is it not going to play now? Okay, now the video's not even there anymore. Oh, there it is. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on with this thing. Now it just says it's playing, even though it's not playing.
At night. Yeah, I was hanging out with a group of my friends late at night, and at about 3 a.m. we were wrapping up, and I was walking one of my friends back to her car, and as we're walking to the car, there's a group of 10 guys right across the street. And as we get to the car and she begins to fumble for the keys, they start shouting at us. And really quickly, I knew something was really off about the situation. So she unlocks the car. I rush her into the driver's seat. She's able to close the door behind her and lock the doors. And, you know, right as I turn around, they run up on me, and they're just a few feet away. And they slam me against the car. They start throwing a bunch of punches. I keep my hands up. I'm just like, all right, I'm getting a lot of punches here. I'm just trying to protect my head the best way that I can. And, you know, luckily the whole thing didn't last too long. The police showed up pretty quickly. So I was very fortunate. I only came out with a broken nose and a concussion. It could have been a lot worse.
Oh my God. All right, so
Good
they were
grief,
wailing
man, a
on
fucking
you. Did they
concussion?
get you down on the ground?
No. I knew that if I got down on the ground, it'd get way worse. So I was like, all right, no matter what, I just have to stay on my feet.
All right, so stay on your feet. You
he's
protect
100%
the head
right.
Because you know what?
It probably would have killed him if he fell to the
Big
ground.
Brains.
With all them kicks that they tend to throw.
And you saved this lady friend of yours. You kind of saved more than her car. You might have saved her life.
Yeah, it was a really bad situation. And, you know, the carjacking didn't make a lot of sense.
I was going to say, they might have just thrown her to the ground and just stole her car. That's what it sounded like they were going to do.
So it felt like there might have been something else going on there.
Okay, well, you're
Possibly,
a brave guy and you're a lucky guy, and we're
We
glad
could have kidnapped
you're okay.
her.
And in a way, it kind of triggered a big crime crackdown in D.C. And in a way, you've saved a lot of lives in D.C. Why did you come down to D.C. in the first place?
Well, I feel this great responsibility to serve my country. My grandfather was this KGB double agent for the Americans. And he died so that I could come here and live in this free country that I love so much. And so when I started seeing these problems that we've got as a government, like this $37 trillion national debt and counting, and the interest on that is just like absurd. I was like, wow, this is insane. Is there any way that I can help solve this? And in this administration, there was a chance. So of course, when I saw the opportunity, I signed right up.
So you got the big ones from your grandfather.
I think I did, yeah.
He was a double agent. What exactly was he doing?
Well, he worked for Line X, which is like this sophisticated KGB line, but he actually joined the CIA and he gave the CIA a bunch of valuable intel right around the Cold War.
Wow, what a patriot.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, also a patriot. You saw him shake hands with the president the other day. How did you feel about that back in action?
Well, I think, you know, Elon Musk and President Trump have a lot of things in common. And I think...
All right. Well, we get the idea. That this video is driving me freaking nuts. I don't know why the hell it's acting that way. So anyway, 2 teenagers who jumped former DOGE staffer Edward Big Balls Coristine avoided jail time after pleading guilty to simple assault in a Washington, D.C. court on Tuesday. The boy and the girl, both 15, from Hyattsville. I'm assuming that's Hyattsville. Come on, New York Post, man. Like, you're all over the place, man. You can't even spell the freaking cities right. All right, anyway, Maryland were sentenced to probation by a D.C. court judge just over 2 months after the pair were arrested for the vicious August 3rd attack. The boy was handed a 12-month probation and allowed to return home under strict house arrest, while the girl was given a 9-month probation and remanded to a local youth shelter. That's really going to be the gist of it. I mean, what else is there to say? Of course, the judge is being heavily ridiculed on social media. The teens also can't contact each other or linger in D.C. beyond schoolwork and family obligations. Judge Kendra D. Briggs stressed she hopes the 2 assailants, who were not identified because of their age, learned from their stint on probation. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. She said juvenile court is focused on rehabilitating youthful offenders, not handing down punishments. Okay, I guess so. Until what, age 25 apparently? But White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt ripped into the decision to not lock the 2 teens up Wednesday while appearing on the Charlie Kirk show. One of the big issues in D.C. is these juveniles. They just get a slap on the wrist, she said, according to the Washington Post. This administration has a completely different philosophy. We need law and order. Their accomplices in the attempted carjacking and assault at approximately 3 a.m. in a D.C. parking garage remain at large, so they didn't catch them. Well, plus, it's probably under seal, but it makes you wonder what else have these teenagers been arrested for, because very good possibility they may have been arrested for something else, or maybe not. I don't know. I guess we're just not going to know. Anyway, so that'll be linked. You want to check it out, as I link everything in the description. Anything I click on, it makes its way down into the description. All right, so moving on to the next topic. I'm going to go straight to Hakeem Jeffries, man. I came out with a video, what was that, 3 days? Yeah, I think it was 3 days ago at this point. And it did incredibly well. It's my #1 video on this channel already. It got like 1,500 views, which is absolutely crazy. And so I figured I would just get into some Hakeem Jeffries content. Pretty much all of this, I think, except for maybe 2 posts, were within the last day or 2. And I think the ones that were, I think there was one that was from earlier, or no, it was actually from last year. It was talking about the Clean CR bill from last year, not from this government shutdown. It's a Clean CR bill like several bills ago that he was trying to fight against. So anyway, I'll get to that here in a minute. So this is from Mila Joy. Chris Cuomo proves Hakeem Jeffries is lying about Democrats' reason for the shutdown. Chris Cuomo just unexpectedly dropped a nuclear bomb on Democrats' excuse for shutting down the government.
Here from the Democrats is not true.
The Republican partisan spending bill that they introduced is not clean. Well, first of all, let's be clear. It's not a clean bill, it's a dirty bill. Well, that's all a lie. It's not a clean continuing resolution.
Listen, I like Hakeem Jeffries. I think he's got an amazing future. He's got better fights than this. This is a clean CR.
Oh my God, dude. Holy shit. Chris Cuomo, is he getting based now? Like, what the fuck?
What does that mean, by the way? Continuing resolution instead of
Well, it is a
passing
clean CR, to be fair. Republicans added absolutely zero to it. They've been using the exact same CR bill for, 5-6 years now. They've passed it over and over again, 13 times now. All throughout the Biden administration, they passed the same CR bill over and over and over again. They just keep recycling it just to keep the government open just a little bit longer until we can get to the next spending bill, which happens, I think it's on November 18th. And now all of a sudden they have a problem with it. Republicans didn't add anything to it. Democrats, they want to add $1.5 trillion worth of bullshit to it.
Real budget like they should. This just says, hey, remember the last one? Let's just continue at those levels again.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that
that's
may
what
mean
they're
that
doing.
certain people who should get less won't, certain people who need more won't, but a clean CR means that this is an extension from the last set of, in this case, Biden's spending levels.
Right.
Okay? That's what a clean CR is. This is a clean CR. Wait a minute. Cuomo disagrees with Jeffries. Jeffries must be right. Don't take my word. Take the word from the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget.
Well, don't mind if we do.
As clean a CR as you could get. Okay? Again, it's a continuation of a March stopgap measure. All right? Essentially, a continuation of spending levels from Biden, absent about $13 billion. But when you look at it as a function of the pie, it's literally a rounding error. I don't like that. It's a lot of money, but it's a rounding error. Again, don't take my word for it. How about taking this guy's word?
Who is it?
Donald
Oh, okay.
Trump to take even much more
Chucky
power
Chuck humor.
via a government shutdown is a far worse option. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
And that's...
Dude, even Chris fucking Cuomo is not even on their side anymore. There's nobody on their side anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? I'm going to get to some of these posts in a little bit later on in this video with the Democrats still in lockstep saying that this is the Republican shutdown. The Republicans are on vacation. It's all the Republicans' fault. They control the House and the Senate. Just assuming that their constituency are just absolutely brain dead retarded. That is what they assume that their voters are when they are. I mean, I guess that some of them are. However, most of them, are not. It only takes about a 30-second Google search to realize, no, it is actually the Democrats' fault for this shutdown.
The he voted for is the same as this one. So what changed? AOC eyeing his Senate seat.
Yep, that is what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. I wish I would have went on for another minute because, apparently she is eyeing Chuck Schumer's Senate seat, and I guess he has he feels some kind of way about that. So this is from Colin Rugg. New Rep Hakeem Jeffries drops a sick rhyme while trying to blame the government shutdown on Republicans. Well, it's a quote, so I'm just going to play. This is from about 4 hours ago, and he goes on to say, this is very cool.
House Republicans shut the government down. Then they ran out of town. And for the last 3 weeks, they're nowhere to be found.
Let's hear that
House
again.
Republicans shut the government down. Then they ran out of town. And for the last 3 weeks, they're nowhere to be found.
Oh, man. Somebody get that guy a record contract. All right, so we got Daily Caller Hakeem Jeffries. It's time to reopen the government. Basically the same speech.
It's time to reopen the government. It's time to enact a bipartisan spending agreement that actually makes life better for everyday Americans. And it's time to
let the rabble just clap.
The Republican health
The NPCs.
care crisis. Democrats are in this fight until we win this fight for the American people. Thank you all.
Oh my God, dude. They count on their voters to be just terminally brain dead, man. I swear to God they do. It's just absolutely crazy to me that they're still going on with this. So I got another one. RNC Research. This is from October 14th. Hakeem Jeffries thinks you're stupid. He knows the Senate requires 60 votes to pass the funding bill, but he just doesn't want you to know that. And it's just that simple. They need 60 votes to pass any spending bill in the Senate before the spending can occur. And they don't have 60 votes because Republicans, there aren't 60 Republicans in the Senate. They need 5 Democrats at this point. They needed 7 originally, but 2 had voted to reopen the government, or to keep the government open, I should say. And yeah, they're still 5 short, and that's why the government is closed, because 5 Democrat senators refused to vote for the clean CR bill. So anyway, here we go.
We've been very clear as Democrats, again,
we'll find a bipartisan path forward. We want to reopen the government. We want to make sure that our hardworking federal employees and civil servants get paid. But we also have to address the Republican healthcare crisis. And the American people clearly know who shut the government down. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They are blaming them because it's their responsibility. And they've adopted a my way or the highway approach from the very beginning of this presidency. And that, unfortunately, has continued through this shutdown.
I mean, my main question is, like, he's a House representative. Why the hell is he even, why is he making his rounds all over the news media anyway, dude? You're not doing your party any favors at all. You just sound like a fucking idiot. I mean, this should be all Chuck Schumer on TV, but nope. Hakeem Jeffries, he's just addicted to the cameras, I guess. Another one from RNC Research, also yesterday, not once but twice, Hakeem Jeffries dodges questions about Zohran Mamdani. Jeffries, we believe in a strong floor and no ceiling. Why is it so hard for Hakeem to condemn communism?
Mr. Leader, does Mamdani and that movement represent the soul of your party?
By the way, Mamdani, if you're not familiar, he is running for New York City mayor.
Well, the Democratic Party, of course, is extremely diverse, and it's represented by people like...
But there's only one
soul. One soul.
By people like
I would have used the word fractured.
Is en route to becoming the next
or
governor of New
chaos.
Jersey, Abigail Spanberger, who's about to become the next governor of Virginia. I haven't spoken to Zohran since the shutdown started. I do look forward to having a conversation with him before early voting starts in New York later on this month.
He's a Democratic socialist. Is that the soul of the Democratic Party, or is it the
Good
Democratic
question.
candidates you just referenced?
Here's my view of what the Democratic Party represents. We believe in a strong floor and no ceiling, that in America, if you work hard and play by the rules, there should be no ceiling to your success. For yourself, for your family, for your children. At the same period of time, we believe in this country, wealthiest country in the history of the world, there should be a strong floor anchored in things like
in other words,
Social
Security, it's all about power.
Medicare, and Medicaid that Republicans are decimating, that Democrats brought to the people of this country.
Yep, progressing all the way up to the communist utopia that they've always dreamed of. That's exactly what the whole no ceiling bullshit means. So this one was pretty funny. This was from October 5th, so kind of recent, but Trump's got the sombrero cannon on standby for Hakeem Jeffries. This is just a meme. I just thought it was funny. Sombrero. Of course, Trump holding up the t-shirt cannon. Or, I mean, the sombrero cannon. All right. All right. Enough fun and games. So this is from Amuse. Shutdown. Hakeem Jeffries refuses to sign clean CR unless it includes a 40% pay increase for Congress. So he's looking for a personal pay raise. So he almost shut down the government because he wanted more money for himself. This is way back in December 19th of 2024.
Holiday travel will be impacted. The ability of everyday Americans to visit their family, their friends, their loved ones will be impacted.
Unless what? Unless you get a pay raise? I mean, at least that's what the message says. I mean, my memory isn't good enough to remember that exact day. But anyway, there you have it. So, all right, enough Hakeem Jeffries, and I'm going to move on to the next thing. From Vice President J.D. Vance, VP Vance on bringing unity to America after Charlie Kirk's murder. Quote, unity requires everybody being on the same page. If we're going to have real unity in this country, we're all going to have to acknowledge that killing people for what they believe in is wrong.
Real unity comes from acknowledging the reality of the situation that we're in, right? Unity
this was on today's Charlie Kirk show, by the way.
On the same page, having some commonality of values. And real unity requires us to acknowledge the fact that while, yes, there are crazies on both sides, we have a country of 330 million people, you're going to be able to find crazies on either side. Political violence.
Well, and also people fail to remember that freedom was never meant to be safe. Freedom is dangerous because when you have the freedom to do what you want, everybody else does too, including the people who may have nefarious intentions in their lives. So
violence is just a statistical fact. It's a bigger problem on the left. And if you had, God forbid, somebody on the left who was assassinated, I'm sure that you could find one person who would maybe celebrate it or one person who would be offensive. But the fact that
far fewer.
It became mainstream to celebrate Charlie's death,
yeah,
to
the mainstream
about the fact
did.
that he maybe deserved to die because he had said hateful things like, we don't want women playing, or we don't want men playing in women's sports. Just the effort
Not
to
hateful,
try to justify
just logical.
his murder, to lie about things that he had said, so as to justify his killing. It was just really disgusting and really disgraceful. And one of the things that we just have to, I want our country to be unified again. I really do. I mean, I'm the Vice President of the United States. I really do feel like I represent every single person, even the people who say disgusting things. But if we're going to have real unity in this country, we're all going to have to acknowledge that killing people for what they think and what they believe is wrong. And right now, that violent impulse is a bigger problem on the left than the right.
Well, and by the way, quoting crime statistics doesn't make you a racist either, because that's something that the left tried to attack Charlie Kirk on, because he would give out FBI crime statistics, but then they would just call him a racist. Anyway, Rapid Response 47, quote, since the start of the administration, the FBI has arrested over 23,000 violent criminals, more than double the number arrested in the final year of the Biden disaster.
Since the start of the administration, the FBI has arrested over 23,000 violent criminals, more than double the number arrested in the final year of the Biden disaster.
It's more than double. All
the
right.
FBI has also destroyed or severely disrupted more than 170 organized criminal enterprises and gangs, 1,600 of the most violent gangs, and confiscated over 6,000 illegal firearms. And they've tracked down and arrested 4 fugitives on the most wanted list. 4 of the most wanted.
Or the top 10.
2 of them were the most wanted fugitives in the world. There's still much more work to be done, which is why the FBI continues to work alongside the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of War to defend. And Pete Hegseth has been fantastic, by the way, on this too, on other things, but on this too, to defend law and order and combat violent crime, arrest illegal aliens, and make American cities the safest in the world.
Man, that's a really bold tie that Trump's wearing today. But yeah, man, good news. Really good news coming from the FBI. So this is from Rapid Response. President on striking Venezuelan drug boats. Every boat that we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
Well, I don't want to tell you exactly, but we are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control. We've had a couple
International
of days
waters,
where there
baby.
isn't a boat to be found. And that I view that as a good thing, not a bad thing. But we had tremendous amounts coming in by boats, by very expensive boats. You know, they have a lot of money. Very fast, very expensive boats that were pretty big. And the way you look at it is every boat that we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. So every time you see a boat,
potentially, for sure,
and you feel badly, you say, wow, that's rough. It is rough, but if you lose 3 people and save 25,000 people, these are people that are killing our population. Every boat is saving 25,000 lives, and you can see it. The boats get hit, and you see that fentanyl all over the ocean. It's like floating in bags. It's all over the place. And it's a tremendous, we're saving tremendous amounts of lives.
I mean, of course, there's no way of knowing that it's literally saving 25,000 lives per boat, because what's the number up to now? It's like 100,000 Americans are killed by overdoses each year. And they've taken out 6 boats already. So that technically would have been, 120 or 150,000 deaths worth. But, you know, it's a political answer, but I get what he's saying, you know. All right, Caroline Levitt, Trump administration revokes visas of foreigners who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. This is from the Daily Wire, and it's got Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I got 0 free articles remaining. This might be my last one from Daily Wire for a while. Even though I really got to remember, I've got to start opening these up in a private tab, because I think they'll open without that notification. But anyway, so the Trump administration revoked the visas of visa holders who celebrated the assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, the Daily Wire has learned. Last month, Secretary of State Marco Rubio pledged to revoke and deny visas for foreigners who celebrate Charlie Kirk's killing. Delivering on the promise, the State Department shared the alarming statements of some of those immigrants who were stripped of legal status. Quote, the United States has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. The State Department continues to identify visa holders who celebrated the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk, end quote, a State Department official told the Daily Wire. President Trump and Secretary Rubio will defend our borders, our culture, and our citizens by enforcing our immigration laws. Aliens who take advantage of America's hospitality while celebrating the assassination of our citizens will be removed, the official added. An Argentine national said that Kirk devoted his entire life spreading racist, xenophobic, misogynistic rhetoric and deserves to burn in hell. That individual, along with the following immigrants, lost their visas over their statements, the State Department told the Daily Wire. Well, good. You're going to find quite a very small few amount of Americans pushing back against that. A South African national said that Kirk's mourners were hurt that the racist rally ended in attempted martyrdom and alleged that he was used to astroturf a movement of white nationalist trailer trash. A Mexican national said that Kirk died being a racist. He died being a misogynist, adding that there are people who deserve to die. There are people who would make the world better off dead. Yeah, they should all fucking deport all these assholes. A Brazilian national charged that Charlie Kirk was the reason for a Nazi rally where they marched in homage to him and that Kirk died too late. A German national wrote of Kirk's death that when fascists die, Democrats don't complain. A Paraguayan national said that Charlie Kirk was a son of a bitch and he died by his own rules. Yep, not good people, man. Get them all out of here. Charlie Kirk, 31, was fatally shot. Of course, we know this. Utah Valley University. President Trump honored Kirk posthumously with the Presidential Medal of Freedom on Tuesday. So, yeah, it looks like that's basically the end of the article, or for the article. And we'll move on to Homeland Security. Foreign terrorists and Mexican cartels are waging war on our law enforcement. DHS will not be deterred by these threats and calls on sanctuary state and local leaders to cease policies that embolden criminals.
Well, there's power
on
in
Fox
numbers.
News.
There's safety in numbers. Secretary Noem, ever since that terror attack we saw in Dallas, she's been hardening our ICE facilities. President Trump has called in the National Guard, a very prescient and great, strong leadership we've seen from the President of the United States. But, I mean, we are seeing a coordinated, highly organized waging of war on our law enforcement on the streets of Chicago. These men and women are simply enforcing the rule of law and doing their job, and yet there's these foreign terrorist networks who are going after them. They're using a tiered system of bounties to go after them, whether it be doxing their family members, kidnapping, even murdering these brave men and women. But I think it is incumbent upon J.B. Pritzker and the mayor out of Chicago to tell these cartels, to tell these Mexican drug rings and criminal rings, not in our city. Get out. These are American law enforcement, and we will not stand by for this. But they continue not to just put politics ahead of public safety, but ahead of humanity. This is un-American, and these leaders really should be standing up to these narco-terrorists and these Mexican cartels.
Well, that looks like the local cops in Chicago are finally stepping in. At least it appears that way. All right, Homeland Security, the Antifa domestic terrorists and sanctuary politicians outside of ICE facilities are on the side of criminal illegal aliens. These facilities processing the worst of the worst daily, including murderers, child predators, MS-13 gang members, and drug traffickers. So it looks like we got a bit more of this
outside the buildings.
Of this
I don't
interview.
think we hear enough about who's inside the building.
Yeah.
Who are you taking into custody? Who are you apprehending? Is it the worst of the worst?
The bad guys.
It is truly the worst of worst out of this Broadview processing facility. It's a processing facility, so these people are only in there for about 72 hours, but we are processing members of drug cartels, drug traffickers, MS-13 gang members, Tren de Aragua. We've had murderers, we've had child pedophiles.
Yeah, the worst evildoers.
In and out of that facility. We're making sure to get them into hardened detention facilities once they're processed at that Broadview facility. But it really is stunning when you're seeing these protesters, you're seeing these agitators, and you're seeing these politicians giving our law enforcement hell for protecting these facilities and actually protecting these detainees so they can get to the detention facility through their due process and out of this country.
All right. Yeah, and like I said before, what we should really be doing with these illegal immigrants instead of just sending them back, especially if they are criminals who committed crimes inside the United States and they need to be locked up for it, we should build a facility. Let's see, where is it? It's one of these islands here. Which one is it? Is it this one? Yeah, Attu Island. This is the largest uninhabited island owned by the United States of America. And I think what they should do is just build a facility here. Just build a facility somewhere. I mean, I'm no expert. I'm no engineer, anything like that. I'm just saying that that's the largest island that we have in the United States that is uninhabited. And look how fucking far out in the middle of nowhere it is. It is way, way out in the middle of nowhere. It's about as far in the middle of nowhere as you can get. And it's up in the North Pacific. So, I don't know. All I'm saying, just something, food for thought if there's any government officials listening. So Rapid Response 47, if we're going to have real unity in this country, we're all going to have to acknowledge that killing people for what they think and what they believe is wrong. And right now, that violent impulse is a bigger problem on the left than on the right. This is
Real
JD
unity
Vance.
comes from acknowledging the reality of the situation that we're in, right? Unity requires everybody being on the same page, having some commonality of values. And real unity requires us to acknowledge the fact that while, yes, there are crazies on both sides, we have a country of 330 million people, you're going to be able to find crazies on either side. Political violence is just a statistical fact. It's a bigger problem on the left. And if you had, God forbid, somebody on the left who was assassinated, I'm sure that you could find one person who would be
so we already heard this,
one
didn't we?
person who would be offensive. But the fact that it became mainstream to celebrate Charlie's death, to talk about the fact.
Okay, well, just in case, I'll repost it, but that sounds quite familiar. So I don't know if Rapid Response may have posted that twice. Actually, no, that was VP Vance who posted the first one. So yeah, it just looks like I just went over the same one again. My apologies. All right, Caroline Levitt, this is lawlessness versus law and order. Democrats want to coddle violent criminals while President Trump and Republicans want to lock up violent criminals. A clear contrast for the American people.
It is.
And she's also on the Charlie Kirk show.
Lawlessness. Democrats want to coddle criminals. Republicans want to lock up criminals. That's it. I mean, it's very simple. And again, we see this resistance from judges. We even see it from police departments in some cities, like in Portland or in Chicago, where the Chicago PD is actually told by the Democrat mayor to stand down when a federal law enforcement agent was being rammed by vehicles. Yep. That's an unprecedented action.
And the woman was a semi-automatic.
Correct. Strapped to her.
Yeah, she ended up getting shot in a defensive measure. She drove herself she ended up being okay, but it's just an insane story.
It is. And it shows how these Democrats have put politics above public safety, and they are preventing local and federal law enforcement from working together. When you talk to cops on the street, they want to work with the feds. They want that backup, that support. They want to be able to communicate, share intel, and go arrest bad guys. And as our FBI director says, we need to let cops be cops. And that's what we're trying to do every day.
And just let it crush them politically. I mean, we'll find out what happens in the midterms, I suppose, in these sanctuary states and these sanctuary cities. The most dangerous thing are the freaking judges, man. I mean, how do you fix that problem? I don't think that all judges are elected by people. I know in the state I live in Florida, we vote for our criminal judges, at least in our different circuits. So, I mean, well, technically we don't actually vote for them. Like, we vote if they are to remain in office. That's what we vote for. And I believe it's actually, I want to say it's the governor actually who does appoint them, but it's up to the people to decide if they should remain on the bench or kick them off. But anyway, yep, that's not good, man. Like, once judges get radicalized on one political side, that ain't good, man. I don't even know how you fix that at that point. Even though judges, they're not supposed to be political in any way, shape, or form. That's why they wear their black robes. All right, Homeland Security, false. And what's false? Block Club Chicago, a 15-year-old U.S. citizen was, quote-unquote, disappeared by the feds for 5 hours after an East Side protest, his attorney said. So according to Homeland Security, this is not real. This is false. These are more disgusting smears peddled by the media and billboard law firms. Here are the facts. Immediately following illegal aliens ramming law enforcement with their vehicle, which resulted in the arrest of 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela, a violent mob began surrounding law enforcement. Among them, a U.S. citizen teenager threw eggs and hit a CBP officer in the head. Agents observed him gathering rocks after objects had already been thrown at law enforcement officers. The individual was arrested for the assault and taken to the FBI field office in Chicago, where he freely admitted without questioning to throwing eggs at agents. His attorney met with him at the field office, and he was released without charges. Son of a bitch. Why are they releasing people without charging them? They should be throwing the book at them. Matter of fact, actually, here, I think I actually commented to that effect. Released without charges. That's what's irritating us about how the feds are handling things. Y'all should be throwing the book at every single person right now, regardless of age. And I stand by that. And they absolutely should. Without charges is so ridiculous, especially when he admitted to it. Whether he's a teenager or not, he admitted to it. So, all right. Another one from Homeland Security. Another disgusting voicemail left for our brave ICE law enforcement officers. The vile rhetoric of sanctuary politicians comparing ICE day in and day out to the Nazi Gestapo, the secret police, and slave patrols has consequences. ICE Gov officers are facing more than a 1,000% increase in assaults against them. The violence and dehumanization of these men and women who are simply enforcing the law must end. So let's take a listen to this.
You know, it's always the bad guys who need masks, not the good ones. I hope every one of those lawless who call ICE officers get doxxed one by one, and they get the public shaming they deserve.
Well, there you go. And then you can play that for Gavin Newsom and all the Democrats who insist that they take off their masks. No, only the bad guys wear the mask. Like, you gotta take your masks off because you're supposed to be the good guys. Well, blame that because they hope they all get doxxed. And why do they want them to get doxxed? So they can all get a hold of their phone numbers like Joe Schmo asshole did and get their addresses and start forming up in front of their house, throwing objects, smashing their windows, spray painting their garage doors. You know, the typical shit that Democrats typically engage in. The Democrats, the progressives, the far leftists, the communists, you know, choose whatever label you want. Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS law enforcement under the president has been so effective in dismantling cartel operations in America that these criminal networks are now placing bounties on the heads of our agents, up to $50,000 for murder. Their campaign of terror against the brave men and women who protect our homeland will be crushed, and these cartel members will be brought to their knees. President Trump and I have the backs of every member of law enforcement across our nation. I got one more from, so we're shifting gears. We're heading into the China situation that's going on. So the United States Trade Representative, China's expansive rule to control the flow of rare earths is a repudiation of the U.S.-China agreement reached 6 months ago in Geneva. The administration is prepared to take strong actions if China moves forward with this escalatory new regime. Read the joint statement that China violated here. Well, I'll link it at least, but we'll check out the video.
Others have suggested that the United States has violated a non-existent agreement with the Chinese regarding export controls or the implementation of measures. This is a false narrative deployed to justify these broad and unacceptable Chinese actions. There is, in fact, a published agreement between the United States and China from earlier this year that the U.S. and China would suspend tariffs of over 100% on each other. China further agreed to effectively suspend elements of its rare earths export control regime by expeditiously approving licenses for U.S. companies seeking rare earths. Both countries agreed to this pause on tariffs and rare earth measures for 90 days while we pursued further negotiations, which have gone on quite successfully for the past 6 months. And there is a published agreement about this on official U.S.
Well, wait a minute. For 90 days, 6 months and 90 days, that doesn't match up. It sounds like that agreement had expired about 3 months ago.
Government and Chinese websites. This is the Geneva Agreement. It's not a secret. It's out there. It's published. We keep our tariffs low.
Yeah, but 90 days. You said it yourself, though.
We have not imposed our reciprocal tariffs on the Chinese since that time, but now the Chinese have expanded their rare earth controls.
Okay, well, it's time for us to jack up the tariffs then, which is what the Trump administration is doing.
And so in this context, this is how China has announced its new and extremely expansive controls on rare earth materials just last week. It's a clear repudiation of everything we've been working toward for the last 6 months, which was a stable tariff situation and a continued flow of rare earths. The short story is that we've had compliance, and the Chinese have escalated, and they've taken this opportunity to make a pretextual claim of noncompliance or other measures to justify this. But the United States won't stand for it. We're in close communication with our allies who have expressed similar views and who are similarly affected. The President has signaled some of the actions we are taking or may take if the Chinese implement this system of controls on the world.
Well, and it's not just rare earths inside China that China's controlling. They also set up operations across Africa, across South America, and they're mining rare earths around the world. And they're trying to control the flow of those rare earths also. Any types of rare earths that are in Chinese control, which may not sound like a big problem right now, but it is a big problem, especially when we're trying to build out the AI infrastructure when it comes to our electronics industries, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other things in industrial manufacturing, maybe automotive, I would assume also possibly. So I got one more from them. China's sweeping action to tighten its grip over rare earth materials is nothing short of a global supply chain power grab. President and his administration will not allow China's chokehold of rare earths to stand.
China announced a sweeping expansion of its export controls on rare earth elements and rare earth processing equipment, as well as technologies related to batteries, vehicles, industrial diamonds,
and that's a problem too, batteries.
To be clear, this is not just about the United States. These actions, if implemented, would apply to the entire world.
Yeah, right.
China's announcement
November
is
1st.
nothing more than a global supply chain power grab. While China has taken a number of retaliatory trade actions against the United States, Europe, Canada, Australia, and others in recent years, this move is not proportional retaliation. It is an exercise in economic coercion on every country in the world.
Yeah, and this is why you don't depend on a communist nation. And we're finding that out the hard way, apparently. So this is from House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority. China's attempt to hold global supply chains hostage is backfiring. The world will not accept this hostile act. Beijing must fully repeal the rule, or Xi Jinping will have to answer to the Chinese people when their economy is in tatters. They're responding to rapid response. If some in the Chinese government want to slow down the global economy through disappointing actions and through economic coercion, the Chinese economy will be hurt the most. And make no mistake, this is China versus the world.
As the president said, we want to help China, not hurt it. If some in the Chinese government want to slow down the global economy through disappointing actions and through economic coercion, the Chinese economy will be hurt the most. And make no mistake, this is China versus the world. They have put these unacceptable export controls on the entire world.
Now, I haven't seen the exact specifics as to exactly how much that they're allowing to be exported, but the big problem is that they're going to fix it's a quantity fix where they're only going to release X amount of tons worth of lithium and a gallium, or I don't know, silver, gold. I don't know. I doubt it probably involves that, but just well, I know the magnets was the first thing that they had set up a supply crunch on. And now they're applying it to all rare earth minerals, which is going to have a pretty long-lasting effect. Well, not long-term, but more in the short term, because since the Trump administration took back over for his second term, they started speculating for rare earth minerals across the United States, and we've already broken ground on a bunch of mines, especially in Utah, which I've mentioned a few times before. And I think Nevada, there's some mines that are opening up there too, I believe for lithium specifically in Nevada. So we're hard at work getting rare earth minerals so we don't have to depend on China anymore. But this is how, I guess we're just finding out the hard way. You don't fuck with China. And hopefully, as they continue doing this, it's just going to force more American manufacturing to come back home. That would be a wonderful thing.
China is a command and control economy, and we and our allies will neither be commanded nor controlled. They are a state
but I think we are, though.
And we are not going to let a group of bureaucrats
At least they're trying to.
in Beijing try to manage the global supply chains. As Ambassador Greer said, we had a document and an agreement in Geneva, and magnets were flowing quite well. Some U.S. auto companies have called us in the past week and said that there had been a slowdown in magnets. So when we asked the Chinese about this, they said, oh, it probably had something to do with the holiday. Had something to do with the
don't
holiday.
worry, no problem.
So
They're
can't
coming.
be trusted with the global supply chain. Had something to do with the holiday. Moreover, we should this should be a clear sign to our allies that we must work together, and work together we will. There will be a series of meetings this week during World Bank IMF week, and we are all aligned. Not only is China fueling Russia's war, but China's actions have once again demonstrated the risk of being dependent on them on rare earths, and for that matter, anything. If China wants to be an unreliable partner to the world, then the world will have to decouple.
Yep.
The world does not
God
want to
willing.
decouple. We want to de-risk. But
I want to
signals like
decouple
this
from a man.
are signs of decoupling, which we don't believe China wants. And again, we do not want to decouple. We should work together to de-risk and diversify our supply chains away from China as quickly as possible.
100%.
China says that these rare earths are used in military materials and that they want to maintain peace in the world. Again,
oh yeah?
It is the purchase of Russian oil by China that fuels the Russian war machine. China buys 60% of Russian energy.
Oh, uh-oh.
They buy 90% of Iranian energy. So who is fueling the Russian war machine?
That's a good point.
We will be
and
producing
Iran.
photos soon, supplied to us by the Ukrainian government, that shows Chinese parts comprise substantial amounts of Ukrainian drones. So President Trump is the leader of peace. We should work together to de-risk and diversify. China's highly provocative move comes after we've made significant efforts to de-escalate tensions. While there are substantial actions we could take, we'd rather not. I believe China is open to discussion, and I am optimistic that this can be de-escalated. Ultimately, we are confident in the strong relationship between President Trump and President Xi. We've had substantial communication with the Chinese over the past few days, and we believe that there will be more forthcoming this week.
All right. Well, and guess we'll just have to wait and see. China gave the date, November 1st, when that goes into effect. Maybe they're just playing politics. Maybe they're just trying to get a better deal on the tariffs or something. It very well could be that. Anyway, so this is from U.S. Department of Energy. A new gallium recovery effort by FECM Gov Fossil Energy at the Department of Energy was launched to help strengthen the domestic supply chain of critical minerals. Gallium, a critical material used in semiconductors and telecommunications and advanced manufacturing, will be critical in helping advance American energy security and technological leadership. So, seems like good news and related. And from the U.S. Interior Press, shifting gears to the next topic. So this is fake news. This is exactly why Americans don't trust mainstream journalists like Ashley Harrell III, who would rather lie than admit that parks are thriving under President Trump. If this is considered news, clearly SF Gate, what is this, largest news site on the West Coast based in San Francisco, is the one with staffing issues. National parks, squatters, illegal base jumpers invade Yosemite amid federal shutdown. That's what it looks like it says. Something about the Wild West. So this Ashley individual is the National Parks Bureau Chief. Is that who she is? Yeah, National Parks Bureau Chief for SF Gate. All right. Anyway, so that's happening. Not sure if they actually linked the article or not. I'm assuming they didn't, but maybe they did. All right. Well, anyway, we have this that they replied to. Secretary Doug Burgum. Our parks are staffed and open, but this shutdown is doing unnecessary damage to our federal lands and our gateway communities. Way to go, congressional Democrats.
There's many false claims that are going on by folks that are, trying to, often raise money. I'll call them grifters, raise money. Be afraid, send us a check. We're going to help the parks. But Yosemite is staffed. It's open. Of course, all of our many sites, we have over 450 historical sites. 63 flagship national parks. All of these would be better operated and better staffed if the Senates would just get us back into government. I mean, we're not even allowed to have volunteer groups come onto the parks right now and help out if they have to access buildings that are federally funded. And so there's the waste of time around a government shutdown is absolutely unbelievable. When you're trying to manage 20% of the land in America, let me tell you, the Democrats have no idea what they're doing, the damage they're doing to entrance communities. People stop coming to the parks because they hear rumors they're closed. But even if they're open, we're hurting those communities. So not good for the economy. Great for China. Way to go, Senate Democrats.
That's something that nobody really thinks about, how it affects communities outside national parks. I didn't even consider that. And from Congressman Pat Harrigan, our troops are being paid this month only because President Trump stepped in and redirected $8 billion from next year's defense research budget to cover their mid-month pay. Once that money is gone, paychecks stop, and Democrats will have no one to blame but themselves.
Look, this is doing real damage to our country. I mean, it's doing damage to everybody that we know. This costs the economy $15 billion a day worth of GDP production. We've got 330,000 furloughed Department of War civilians, and that has incredible impacts. And let's keep in mind, this payment of our troops, this is a one-shot thing. We don't get to do this again. Those funds aren't just sitting around. So we've got to figure something out. Democrats have to come to the table here and do the right thing.
It's a good.
Well, it looks like the Dow Jones is still rocking and rolling in the middle of a government shutdown. That's been going on for 2 weeks at this point. 2 weeks in almost 3 days. Or no, 2 weeks in almost 1 day. So RNC Research Democrat Senator Jeff Merkley says it is the right strategy to hold the government hostage because Democrats want to give health care to illegal aliens. Democrats are willing to hurt the American people to push their radical agenda.
The Republicans say they'll negotiate, but they'll negotiate after you fund the government. That has been, I mean, these positions have been known for not just 15 days now, but for weeks and months. The question then becomes more and more relevant is this. At what point do you believe you need to change strategy to get out of this? Do you see a point at all?
Well, this is the right
Will we lose all of our voters?
The Republicans say they'll negotiate, but they'll negotiate.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. I thought we were going to get an answer to that. That kind of sucks. But it does sound like that CNN, that mainstream media, it sounds like that they're slowly but surely turning against them. I mean, Chris Cuomo, I was really surprised to see that. House Foreign Affairs Committee majority, Democrats can put America first and end the shutdown right now. Instead, they're holding out for billions in wasteful DEI spending abroad. And I think they actually linked quite a few of these. I think this is the Post. Let's see. The Democrat shutdown continues. Their demands $45 million for the World Health Organization, $2.3 million for locust risk efforts focusing on gender equality. And we've got $4 million for the new Alliance for Global Equality to advance global LGBTQI plus identity, $2 million for organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa, $3.9 million to promote democracy for LGBTQI plus in the Western Balkans, $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $2.7 million to advance inclusive democracy in South Africa, nearly $300 million each year, that's annually, $300 million a year directly to Somalia for programs that have failed to stop piracy, $24.6 million for climate resilience in Honduras. So that's what we got from that, and that's what they want. That's what they're saying that they demand, or else the government will stay shut down. And this comes from the House Democrats. House Democrats are in D.C. once again, ready and willing to negotiate a bipartisan funding deal that protects Americans' health care. House Republicans haven't called us back to work since September 19th. Shame. It's clear they don't care about reopening the government. You see these stupid fucking games they play? Anyway, they got ratioed like 2-1. Anyway, speaking of which, I wonder what people are saying exactly. I don't know. I mean, I said still getting ratioed with every post. It's clear you aren't winning by any stretch. And let's see. Excuse me, which party created the healthcare crisis? The ACA, the Affordable Care Act, March of 2010, H.R. 3590, and a follow-up reconciliation bill, H.R. 4872, passed House 220 to 211 and Senate 56 to 43 on partisan lines. ARPA, March 2021, Democrats' $1.9 trillion stimulus, enhanced ACA subsidies, no income cap, 8.5% premium cap, enrolled 20 million plus people, cut uninsured rates, and the House voted 220 to 1. All the GOP voted no. The Senate went 50 to 49, Harris tiebreak, IRA extension, August 2022. Through 2025, House voted 220 to 207, Senate 51 to 50. Democrats and Sinema, all GOP voted no. NEMA, all GOP no. So Democrats. So are the House Democrats mentally fit for office? The CR already passed the House. It's a Senate problem now. And this is why no Republican will negotiate with the Democratic option. The Democratic counterfeit resolution restores taxpayer-funded free health care for illegal aliens, props up liberal news programs, prioritizes electric vehicle access to HOV loans. Oh my gosh, man, they got a lot of stuff on here. $1.5 trillion in new spending for just a month of keeping the government funding extended. House Democrats are irrelevant to the current shutdown. The CR passed the House and the Senate Democrats blocked it. We don't negotiate with terrorists. And we demand health care for illegals funded by taxpayers. Lack of documentation, cost shifting, uncompensated care costs are sometimes passed on to insured patients or taxpayers through higher healthcare prices or state and federal subsidies to safety net hospitals. No illegals, and some facts on illegals. I've gone through this before. I've seen this before, and some of these numbers actually have been debunked. These are not like strictly speaking accurate. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I know that this has been gone through, and some of these numbers are fairly accurate, but not completely. Like they're off by a little bit on some of those points, but whatever. Either way, it's still not good. This is your future Democratic Socialist Party. Number 1 in homelessness, poverty, addiction, gas prices, income tax, gas tax. Number 1 in budget deficit. Number 1 in retail theft, citizen exodus, COVID mandates, school closures, COVID business closures. Number 1 in illegal immigration, funding illegal migration. Number 1 in illiteracy. Number 1 in wage stagnation, frivolous lawsuits, worker restrictions, and anti-business regulations. Absolutely. I mean, most recently, what was it, $20 an hour that they had to pay fast food workers in California, and something like 15 or 20,000 different, or no, I think it was 15 or 20,000 employees ended up losing their jobs because hundreds, if not over 1,000, fast food restaurants had to close down because they didn't have the money to pay that high. Anyway, the House don't matter. The Democrat senators voted to shut down the government and thereby enable Project 2025 to go live. All right. No illegals. Unfortunately, this is what the Socialist Democrats support. So anyway, all you Democrats do is lie. So, all right. So I'll go to the next thing. And this is from Senate Republicans. Wrong. Senator Schiff voted to cut $50 billion from America's rural hospitals 8 times in the last 3 weeks. At the same time, he voted to give illegal aliens free health care. He says, first, Republicans passed the largest healthcare cut in history, gutting Medicaid and putting hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes across states at risk of closure. Then they shut down the government rather than work with Democrats to fix it. Every day of the Trump shutdown is hurting families. No, dude, you personally shut down the government because we need 5 senators to vote yes to keep the government funded, and he voted no. So he personally voted to shut down the government. All right, GOP, this is real leadership. Despite the Democrat shutdown, President Trump announced that our troops will still receive their pay. While Democrats continue to fight for illegals, President Trump delivers for our military. And this says President Trump just signed an order directing the Secretary of War to ensure active duty U.S. military personnel receive their paychecks on October 15th, despite the Democrat shutdown. Here's the text of the order. How long is this? Oh, man, this is kind of long. All right, so deep breath. Subject, use of available Department of War funds for military pay and allowances during the lapse in annual appropriations. The current appropriations lapse, which includes a lapse in the annual appropriations that the Congress provides for the pay and allowances of military personnel, is now in its 15th day. Further, congressional leaders have indicated that political negotiations have stalemated and that the passage of the necessary bipartisan legislation to end the lapse is unlikely to occur before our active duty military personnel are scheduled to receive their next paychecks on October the 15th. This potential outcome presents a serious and unacceptable threat to military readiness and the ability of our armed forces to protect and defend our nation. Accordingly, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States under Article 2 of the United States Constitution, I direct the Secretary of War, in coordination with the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, to use for the purpose of pay and allowances any funds appropriated by the Congress that remain available for expenditure in fiscal year 2026 to accomplish the scheduled disbursement of military pay and allowances for active duty military personnel, as well as for reserve component military personnel who have performed active service during the relevant pay period. Funds used for military pay and allowances during the current lapse should be those that the Secretary of War determines are provided for purposes that have a reasonable, logical relationship to the pay and allowances of military personnel, consistent with applicable law, including 31 U.S.C. 1301A. At the conclusion of the current lapse in appropriations, every effort should be made as authorized by law to adjust applicable funding accounts within the Department of War to ensure the continuation of Department of War operations and activities consistent with planned expenditures prior to the lapse. Donald J. Trump. Democrats prove they don't care about our troops. Remember when they had them sleep in the parking garages in D.C.? I do remember that. That was during COVID. I remember that. And meanwhile, those tents, remember those makeshift medical centers that they set up, those big giant tents that would house like 1,000 patients or whatever that were completely empty. Yeah, the troops could have slept in those, but they didn't. They made them sleep in parking garages while those giant medical tents just sat empty. They sat empty, even in New York City. There was almost nobody going to them. You know, and speaking of which, that's the same type of, it was the same facility that they could have filled up with nursing home patients who had COVID, but Governor Cuomo sent them back to the nursing homes infected with COVID, and they got everybody in the nursing homes infected, and I believe that the estimate was 16,000 senior citizens died as a result of that. So, but no charges, no investigations into that. So, all right, GOP, I think I already got that, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we already got through that. Speaker Mike Johnson, instead of voting to pay our troops, help women, infants, and children, and reopen the government, Democrats have decided it's better to berate Capitol Police who are working nights without pay thanks to their shutdown. Meanwhile, 1.3 million troops would be missing paychecks right now if not for President Trump's leadership. The American people can see the stark contrast, and they know it's Republicans who are delivering real, positive results that improve lives. Yeah, I'd say the vast majority knows.
1.3 million active duty service members would be missing a paycheck. They'll get their check, thankfully, because President Trump has shown strong leadership. And under his direction, the Department of War has now redirected unspent funds to ensure that our troops are taken care of. And this is while Democrats are playing political games. Last night, they played some games. They stormed my office. Maybe you saw some of the video online that they themselves shared.
No, I missed that.
They berated
Damn, how did
a
I miss
Capitol
that?
Police officer, screamed at him. He was just merely standing his post. Shows again their disdain for law enforcement, as we see all around the country. The
Oh yeah, man, defund the police. They hate the cops.
In that party, screaming, assaulting ICE officers. They did it right here in
That
the
too.
Capitol last night. A few members of Congress went into the little foyer of my office and tore down a sign that I had up and just engaged in all sorts of political stunts and antics. They've been doing that every day now, and it shows their desperation.
What the fuck?
It also shows a very strong contrast between the party that is working for the people and trying to keep the government open and do the right thing, and the party that is engaging in all this nonsense.
Good grief, man. For real? I'm going to look this up, see if I can find this. Mike Johnson's office, huh? Maybe media. Okay, here we go. If the cast members at Cocoon, oh no, October 14th, storming Mike Johnson's office. Okay, yeah, so that would have been last night or yesterday, right? 8:23 p.m. yesterday. Yeah, this is probably it. This is only 11 seconds of it, though. So what, are these like Democrat members of Congress, I guess? Yeah, it looks like Debbie Wasserman Schultz there. God, these people are fucking lunatics, aren't they? Absolutely ridiculous, man. They're children. They're grown-ass children. Do we have any others? I mean, they said they tore down signs. Hold on. No, that's way back in January. Let me see if there's anything over on this tab. Yeah, we got that. Not seeing anything else other than that. I mean, that might have been just the one and only, although I doubt it. I mean, if he's talking about them ripping down a sign in his office, I'd be curious to see that. But anyway, yeah, I can't get hung up on it because I got some other stuff to get through. But yeah, so... All right, that happened. And Senator Mark Kelly, this government shutdown isn't better for anybody, Democrats or Republicans. It's not about that. It's about stopping Americans' health costs from skyrocketing in a couple of months, which is what will happen if we do not act. Look, y'all got to own this anyway, man. The Affordable Care Act was passed by Democrats, I think with virtually no, or if not zero completely Republicans agreeing to it or voting for it. So it's Obamacare. And the spending has gotten completely out of control, and the Democrats have to own it because it's Obamacare. Obama wasn't a Republican. At least I don't think he was. So anyway, here, let's just see what he has to say.
I don't think this is better for anybody. I mean, this isn't better for government workers. This isn't better for us.
Well, it's way worse for Democrats.
Republicans. It's not about that. It's protecting people from crazy increases in the cost of their health care. There are people in Alaska that have gotten letters that say their premiums are going from $600 a month to $4,000 a month. I was just mentioning this.
Show us. Show the proof.
Phoenix. Her name's Cricket. She pays $350 a month. She had an injury, a head injury recently.
Are you just making this up, dude?
$10,000, but because she had the ACA, she only had to pay $1,000. If she didn't have that, she told me she would have lost her home. It's about people like her. And there in Arizona, 109,000 people could lose their health care because of this. And across the country, the Congressional Budget Office estimated that number will quickly be up to 2 million people. And by 2035, over 3 million people.
So in other words, if Obamacare never existed, then our health insurance would probably be, what, like 20% the rate that it is right now? Something like that. It would be far, far cheaper than it would have been otherwise. But what's the Democrat solution? Just throw more money at it. Just throw more blank checks at it. I mean, yeah, because that's totally going to fix the healthcare problem. Let's just keep putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm and just call it a day, which that's not going to fix anything. It's only going to make it worse because all they're doing is just extending the COVID tax credits, even though COVID has long been over. All right, Senator Jeff Merkley, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They shut down the government to slash your healthcare, ratioed. And then this one, Senator Mazie Hirono, same thing. Republicans control the House. Republicans control the Senate. Republicans control the White House. This shutdown has Republicans' name written all over it. Ratioed again, like what, 3-1? Yeah, about 3-1. Senator Peter Welsh, I just voted once again against the Republican plan that doesn't include health care protections for millions of Americans. I hate shutdowns, but I hate millions of Americans losing their health care even more. And another ratio, of course. Elizabeth Warren, Americans pay some of the highest prices in the world for health care, and I Am Politics Girl knows that firsthand. Democrats are fighting to lower health care costs instead of helping to fix this crisis. Republicans are shutting down the government. No, it's literally Democrats. This got ratioed too, by the way. So if you want to pause it, you could read it. I'm not going to go through all of it. And then I'll show the next image. Just someone given their story, their opinion. No way for me to verify that this is actually true or not. But anyway, there you have it from Pocahontas. And this is from Congressman John Rose. Did you know that that since 2017, there have been 30 CRs passed to keep the government open, and Chuck Schumer supported every single one of them except for now. What changed, Senator Schumer?
Well, I think we heard Bernie Sanders said this, that they'll reopen the government. If they reopen the government, that they'll lose their leverage. And that's what you hear.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Reluctantly acknowledged is that they're trying to achieve political gains for the progressive left. And they're willing to put Americans in harm's way to do that. And
it's not going to win. They're not going to win.
Chuck Schumer has voted for innumerable continuing resolutions over the years. Now he chooses not to vote for one. And I think we know why, or allow his members to vote for one. And it's because he feels the pressure from his political left, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others. And he's bowing to that pressure and putting Americans in harm's way in the process.
Yeah.
Well, look, and I might have to check the statistics again, but the far left and the progressives, they don't represent a significant amount of the country, but it's like 15% or something like that. It's a pretty small minority of people that they're shutting the government down over. And meanwhile, the majority of everybody else, I don't think that they're going to stick with the Democrats on this, especially if this goes on for months, which it probably will. It makes me wonder if Chuck Schumer, he's just planning on retiring and he just doesn't give a shit at this point. Anyway, so this is from Chuck Schumer. Look at this chart. These are the massive healthcare costs facing rural families in Elise Stefanik's district in upstate New York. If Republicans refuse to address the healthcare crisis they've created, oh yeah, so Republicans created Obamacare, huh? It will be millions of American families in their districts who suffer the most. Sticker shock 2025. Look, there, and I wanted to point this out. There's no sources. There's no way at all to prove this. Democrats have a very long history of just lying their asses off. So probably just pulled these numbers completely out of his ass. Anyway, 2025, $282 a month. 2026, $1679 a month. Yeah, I mean, although to be fair, that does sound about right for Obamacare. I mean, I've already said it a few times on this show that back in around 2015, just because they sent me an email, I was like, you know what, I'll apply for it. I'm not going to take it, but I'm going to apply just to see what the rate is that they're going to give me. So I applied for it just to see what the number was, and it was $1,500 a month. And I was in my mid-30s, or well, early to mid-30s at the time. Let's see, in 2015, I would have been like 31. Yeah, 31 years old. So no pre-existing conditions or anything, just, you know, early 30s, $1,500 a month. And yeah, so that seems about right. I'm sure it's way more expensive than it was back then by now. All right, anyway, going to move on to the next topic. Secretary Sean Duffy Oh wait, no, we're still on the shutdown here. All right, I'm withholding 40. Well, no, actually, no. Okay, never mind. Yeah, we're past the shutdown. I'm withholding $40 million in funding for California because they can't get their priorities straight. The Golden State thinks it's okay to ignore U.S. Department of Transportation's English language requirements for truckers. You can play all the games you want, but not at the expense of American lives. So 40 million sounds like a drop in the bucket, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And another one from Secretary Sean Duffy. Americans are hurting from Senator Schumer and Rep. Jeffries' shutdown. Let's end the political game so air traffic controllers can get paid. Democrats don't listen to me, listen to them. So yeah, I actually put that post in the wrong spot. I should have put it like 2 more down, but whatever, that's all right.
I'm here at BWI, our Baltimore airport, visiting with air traffic controllers who are working without getting paid.
Well, and that sucks. It really sucks for air traffic control to hear that the military, they're all going to get paid. And I'm, as an air traffic controller, if I were one, I'd be like, well, what about us though? I mean, like the $8 billion that they're giving to the military, is that only going to cover them for a week? Or is the military going to get paid for the next couple of months? They didn't elaborate on that. Like, how far does that $8 billion really go into the payroll for the military? And if it does cover them for the next couple of months, you couldn't include the air traffic controllers with that? Because it really sucks. I mean, their job is excruciatingly stressful to have to deal with, especially not getting paid on top of it. I mean, sounds like a recipe for disaster, really.
Air traffic controllers won't get their full paycheck because of the Schumer-Jeffries shutdown.
They won't get their full paycheck.
Their livelihoods.
So they're getting partially paid?
Job in this challenging environment, and also have to wonder about how we're going to get paid, how we're going to feed our families, how we're going to pay our bills. It's definitely creeping into the backs of our minds as we do our job day in and day out.
There's no guarantee. It could be tomorrow. It could be 2 months. We just don't know. And if it's 2 months, that's a long time to go.
Hell, dude, it could be 6 months.
Remember, Democrats shut down the government because they want to give illegal migrants health care benefits. The millions of migrants that came into the country under Joe Biden, that's who they're fighting for, not the American people.
We pay our taxes, we serve the American people, and we are Americans, and we deserve just as much as for people to get to where they're going. We deserve to be able to be paid on time for the work that we're doing for the American people.
Well, and this is a tough lesson for anybody aspiring to be a federal employee. You've really got to be good at saving money, and you really have to have an emergency fund set aside. The average, I can't remember like what the financial experts, what is it, 6 months, I think, on that the average American should have squirreled away in case, whether if you lose your job or get laid off, or like maybe a medical emergency or an appliance breaks down or whatever, that you should have at least 6 months worth of savings, that, like 6 months worth of your pay, I guess, that you should have put away just in case for something like this. And I don't know, man. I know air traffic controllers, they get paid pretty well. So hopefully a lot of them they're prepared for something like this, but I'm sure not all of them are. I know that life gets in the way, things happen. So anyway, Nick Daniels, president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, talks about the risk of having distracted air traffic controllers on the job, controllers who are working unpaid during the Democrat shutdown. Those are real people with real lives that are now facing a whole different level of challenges. I mean, my takeaway from that message is you probably shouldn't be flying right now. It sounds a little risky.
The government spends millions of dollars teaching us how to reduce distractions, delays, fatigue. Every day a controller goes to work, their focus is on the flying public, their safety. They could have had a hard day at home. We just had a controller the other day. He texted me talking about his father passing away. His father just died 2 days ago, and he has to go to work today to do his job. He knows how to check those emotions at the door. But now he also has to think about, how do I pay for his funeral? How do I take care of the family in association with it in the meantime? And those are real people with real lives that are now facing a whole different level of challenges while keeping America safe.
Yeah, and it really shouldn't be happening to air traffic controllers. I mean, that's a whole nother level of potentially dangerous, really, just because of how stressful the job is or how taxing it is mentally. All right, DOW, rapid response from the Secretary of War. Under President Trump's steadfast leadership, and in particular our European allies, we're going to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. This is not a war that started on President Trump's watch, but it will end on his watch.
Under President Trump's steadfast leadership, and in particular with our European allies, we're going to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. The war must end. Like we saw him do in Gaza and in the Middle East, President Trump knows how to forge peace, to create opportunities in situations, in scenarios where peace seems far off. He and he alone has the ability to do that. This is not a war that started on President Trump's watch, but it will end on his watch. So let us seize this moment, strongly forge peace in Ukraine, and let's bring peace through strength. Thank you very much.
Let's hope so. I haven't really heard much movement with regard to Russia and Ukraine other than Europe is buying weapons from us, and then they're giving the weapons to Ukraine. And at the same time, Europe is buying a ton of energy from Russia, and they're giving the cash to Russia, and Russia's using it to fund the war. So not really sure what they're doing to put a stop to it. I know there's been diplomatic efforts that have occurred, like when Trump met with Putin up in Alaska. So maybe there's movement on the back end that we're not hearing about. But anyway, so from the GOP, the Trump effect, Whirlpool Corporation announces $300 million investment in U.S. laundry operations, creating 400 to 600 new jobs. So yet another company investing in America. And this is from Caroline Levitt. Whoa. And from Colin Rugg. New Rep. Nancy Pelosi snaps at a reporter today and puts her finger in her face after being asked about January 6th. Reporter, why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th? Anyway, here, let's see what Nancy Pelosi does.
Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, dude, did you see that smile at the end? Oh, she liked that response. Oh, my God, dude. Nancy Pelosi, you're just getting a little bit more unhinged by the day. All right, townhall.com. The FBI is on fire. 2,200 firearms seized, 400 fentanyl kilograms. I assume that's what that is, 400 kilos, and 28,000 people have been arrested, 5,400 children located. Gang arrests are up 210%. Transnational organized crime arrests are up 12%, and espionage arrests in China and Russia and Iran are up 133%.
Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General to start making arrests and bring prosecutions and safeguard our cities. And you said it, this is just the beginning. In just 7 months, I hope the media takes a look at every one of these charts because these are the best numbers for fighting crime in U.S. history, and it's only 7 months in. And to do that, our vehicle to do it of choice was Operation Summer Heat, which the FBI architected to go after violent criminals. And in just a 3-month span, you had 8,700 arrests of violent criminals. You had 2,200 firearms seized off the streets permanently to safeguard our communities. You had 421 kilograms of fentanyl seized. Just to put that in perspective, that's enough to kill 55 million Americans alone.
Damn,
you had 45,000 kilograms of cocaine seized. And thanks to our Department of Justice partners, you had 2,100 indictments in 3 months from June to September alone. Mr. President, that in and of itself would be historic for a 4-year presidency. You did that in 7 months because you let good cops be cops, and you partnered us with the right people, the Department of Justice, to put the handcuffs on and bring them to court and put them in prison. And if that weren't enough, when you look at the year, for the entire 7-month period that we're talking about here, if you look at the past 4 years of the Biden administration, 16,000, 17,000, 15,000, 15,000. That's the number of arrests year over year of violent felons in this country for the Biden administration. Mr. President, in 7 months, you have 28,600 arrests of violent felons in just 7 months alone because of your leadership and the dedication of the men and women at the FBI who want to go out there and do the job they were prevented from doing because that department used to be weaponized and politicized. And this is what happens when you take out the fangs of weaponization. This number is historic by every metric. 28,000 people have been arrested, violent felons alone. And then when you go over there and look at some of these charts, if you don't mind, I'll just hop over here. Look at the metrics for not just violent crime, but the homeland. Mr. President, during your administration, the FBI has found and located 5,400 children. That is a 30% increase year to date over the last administration. Violent crimes against children arrests alone are up 10%. Gang arrests are up 210% in the last 7 months alone. And transnational organized crime, which Stephen Miller has been a great partner in, is up over 12% alone. These numbers are historic just as a snapshot. But just so people don't think we're focusing on violent crime alone, the national security mission, Mr. President, under your leadership has never been stronger. We have gone after espionage activities against our main counterparts in China, Russia, and Iran. In China alone, we've had over a 50% increase in espionage arrests alone and prosecutions. In Iran, we have had a 50% increase, again, in espionage cases. And in Russia, we've had a 33% increase in espionage cases alone. When it comes to counterterrorism, year to date, we have 125 arrests this year versus 100 last year, year to date alone. And when it comes to the cyber criminal activities, which are some of the largest enterprises plaguing everyday Americans, we at the FBI...
Man, dude, talk about a full turnaround in the FBI, man. Kash Patel is crushing it. All right, Real America's Voice, RAV. Quote, we have over 28,000 arrests year to date this year alone of violent offenders. To put that into perspective, last year to date, the Biden administration had 14,000, and we got Kash Patel.
I'd love to be able to take credit
speaking
for it,
on
I may have
Real
one of
America's
the
Voice.
Ideas, but there's two groups. There's one man who is responsible for Operation Summer Heat, and the architect is Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Yeah. He
Dan
drew it up,
Bongino.
he put out the mechanics, he went to the field, and he went 100% for these last 7 months. And the men and women of the FBI executed Deputy Director Bongino's Summer Heat operation. And Summer Heat, that's just a 3-month snapshot, by the way.
Yeah. Right.
That was only 3 months from June to September, so the numbers you just announced. We just released the numbers for the last 8 straight months of the FBI. And the number that people should take away more than anything as a result of this, because Summer Heat was our juggernaut that we used to kinetically operate in Memphis, in Chicago, in every major city, literally, in America. We have over 28,000 arrests year to date this year alone of violent offenders. 28,000.
That's amazing.
But just for people who don't know, to put that in perspective, last year to date, the Biden administration had 14,000.
Wow.
We're double.
Double.
Yeah.
We're double. And that's because the failed policies of the Biden administration allowed these criminals to come in. And President Trump gave me and Dan an agenda to say, you have to rid our cities of these violent criminals. And that's the top line number that matters more than anything. We could break the rest down.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And they're not done yet, man. Still got plenty of time to go. All right, Senate Republicans, correction, Roy Cooper will stand up for freedom of murderers, and they're responding to his post. Roy Cooper, I will always stand up for our democracy, for our rights and freedoms and future of this country. So let's see. So you stand with Trump, Middle East peace, ended 8 wars, destroyed Iran's nuclear program, hostages released from 6 countries, killing narco-terrorists, over 2 million illegal aliens deported, secure border, record market, tax cuts, wage growth, outpacing inflation, and school choice. And, oh, wow, yeah, they said you stand up for the guy in the red hoodie. Oh, man. Let's see. Actually, we'll never forget all the rights and freedoms you took away from North Carolina families during your 888-day state of emergency. Birthday boy you celebrated has been arrested for pedophilia. The statement from you would be appreciated. Yikes, man. All right, so anyway, let me move on to the next thing. Department of Energy. American Energy is being launched to new heights. PNN Lab, which is Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, is collaborating with global space industry partners on nuclear systems for space missions, cybersecurity for satellite networks, and radiation testing for the U.S. Space Force. And I'll read just a little bit of it, and we'll see what they're talking about here. In Richland, Washington, researchers at the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory are bringing their knowledge of nuclear power, space governance, cybersecurity, and technology test beds to the space domain by joining an organization that facilitates collaboration across the global space industry. PNNL is the first DOE national laboratory to join the Space Information Sharing and Analysis Center, or Space ISAC. The organization serves as a source for data, facts, and analysis on space security and threats to space assets. Space ISAC facilitates collaboration across the global space industry, enhancing the ability to prepare for and respond to vulnerabilities, incidents, and threats. Members include U.S. agencies, universities, and industry partners, as well as several international organizations. And yeah, they got an animated image there. The development comes at a time when space exploration is taking off. A growing number of companies are developing launch vehicles, spacecraft, and payloads. Missions to space, some carrying civilians, are being funded and launched both by governments and by companies. 4 countries, in addition to the United States, have landed spacecraft on the moon. Every day, space is becoming more congested. More than 11,000 satellites are now in orbit, and tens of thousands more are projected by the end of the decade. And managing all that activity and the risks involved requires careful coordination and scientific collaboration involving both public and private actors. Quote, joining the space ISAC puts us squarely with the leaders exploring space technology and governance, said Sarah Frizar, a national security analyst at PNNL. Quote, we have a lot to offer federal and industry partners interested in using nuclear technology for space power and propulsion systems. We have a long tradition of helping partners test new technologies as well as understanding and managing the risks involved. PNNL also has extensive knowledge about the legal and regulatory challenges of introducing new technologies into space. Challenges include new launch regulations, development of international governance, and new performance standards. We are thrilled to welcome Pacific Northwest National Laboratory to Space ISAC, said Aaron Miller, Executive Director of Space ISAC. Their expertise in national security and cutting-edge research strengthens our collective mission to secure the global space ecosystem. And it continues from there, but I will link that if you want to check that out. And from Team Cornyn, how did Ken Paxton, Texas, increase his net worth 4,000% while in public office since 2003? And I'm just double-checking. America First Warrior Attorney General for the great state of Texas, running for U.S. Senate to take a sledgehammer to the Washington establishment. And we've got a video for that. Yeah, apparently his net worth is like $5-6 million now.
This is the story of how a middle-class Texas lawyer became a multimillionaire while spending nearly his entire career in public office. This is the Ken Paxton fortune timeline. In 2001, Ken Paxton was a small-town lawyer with less than $175,000 in assets. Just a house and a few stocks. He lived with his wife, Angela, who was a school teacher, and their 4 kids. In 2002, Ken Paxton wins a seat in the Texas House of Representatives. The salary is a modest $7,000 a year. Then something major happens. In 2004, Paxton makes a $300,000 investment in a small company called WatchGuard. 2 years later, WatchGuard lands a lucrative state contract with the Texas Department of Public Safety. Now Ken Paxton, a state lawmaker and an investor, is caught up in a
sounds like conflict of interest, if that's true.
Conflict of interest. In 2015, Paxton becomes Attorney General and creates something called the Esther Blind Trust. It's supposed to place him above ethical gray areas by dividing him from knowing what's in his investments. That same year, he tells a bank his net worth is $5.4 million. But here's the problem.
That's a lot for a
Later
public
evidence
official.
shows this trust wasn't really blind. In 2019, Motorola buys WatchGuard for about $250 million. Paxton's stake earns him a $2.2 million windfall, the single biggest payday of his career, and he never disclosed it publicly at the time, despite being required to by state law. Text messages from his trustee show Paxton knew about stock trades inside the blind trust, including $618,000 in purchases. Legal experts call it a blind trust in name only. His blind trust was phony. Just 2 years after the $2.2 million windfall, the Paxtons go on a $3.5 million real estate buying spree, snapping up snazzy properties in Florida, Oklahoma, Utah, Hawaii.
Must be nice.
At least 4 properties purchased in 10 months. In 2023, the Texas House impeaches Paxton, accusing him of abusing his office to benefit a major donor, who later went to jail for a felony. During the trial,
is the felony related?
Documents expose the true scope of Ken Paxton's extraordinary wealth. The vote to acquit is 14-16. He's acquitted, but his secret is no longer secret. By 2024, reporters find at least 10 properties tied to Paxton or his trust, but his official disclosure shows only 1. He kept his ownership of these flashy properties secret, revealing a massive gap between public record and private reality. In 2025, Angela Paxton files for divorce, citing adultery. That same year, Paxton buys an $800,000 Utah resort condo in a gated community and moves it into the trust. His total property holdings, at least $7.5 million, from $175,000 in 2001 to $7.5 million in property by 2025. His net worth increased more than 4,000%, all while in public office in Texas. Not through private industry, through a career in public office, a blind trust that wasn't blind, and one very lucrative state-connected investment. This is how crooked Ken Paxton built his fortune. A politician, a trust, a windfall, and a lot of questions left unanswered.
Yeah, I'd say that's quite peculiar. I mean, I'm not from Texas, not too familiar with that matter, but yeah, it sounds like he's got a lot of baggage. So anyway, I came across that in the feed. Figured I just might as well play it near the end of the episode. All right, so this is from U.S. Ambassador to NATO. Secretary of War and I joined 31 allied defense ministers at NATO to discuss fulfilling the Hague defense commitment. As allies hit 5% defense investment, NATO gains $1 trillion annually, boosting strength. Focus today was ensuring 3.5% goes to military needs and 1.5% to support capabilities. Well, that's good, man. Sounds like they're finally starting to pay their fair share. And RNC Research, Minnesota AG Keith Ellison refuses to clap for veterans arriving on an honor flight to visit D.C. memorials. Absolutely disgusting. Good grief. That's not cool, man. Yeah, why aren't you clapping? Somebody doesn't support the troops. All right. Maybe we get the idea. He's not clapping. All right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Not sure why you didn't feel like you needed to clap, but now it's all over social media. I mean, it didn't get a whole lot of attention from RNC Research, at least, but I mean, it's on here. Somebody recorded them. All right, one more from RNC Research. Wow, anti-Semite and communist Zoran Mamdani refuses to say whether Hamas terrorists should disarm. Mamdani's wife recently mourned a pro-Hamas extremist. If you support terrorists, you don't belong in public office, period. Well, especially in New York City, man. It's like the biggest city we got in our
what is your
country.
response to what Hamas is doing now?
I think those are bodies and remains that should absolutely be returned, and I think that I have no issue with critiquing Hamas or the Israeli government because my critiques all come from a place of universal human rights. And my focus, however, is right here in New York City and transforming the most expensive city in America into one that's affordable for each and every New Yorker.
Each affordable for every New Yorker? So it sounds like communism to me. Everybody gets paid the same.
I
don't think that's really going to work out, but okay.
Do you believe that Hamas should lay down their weapons and leave the leadership in Gaza?
I believe that any future here in New York City is one that we have to make sure that's affordable for all.
So
and
not
as
answering it.
To Israel and Palestine, that we have to ensure that there is peace. And that is the future that we have to fight for.
But you won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety and the fact that anything has to abide by international law. And that applies to Hamas, that applies to the Israeli military, applies to anyone you could ask for.
Yeah, but isn't he under scrutiny for having supported Hamas? I'm no expert on the guy, but yeah, apparently he said some controversial shit at some point. So yeah, I mean, doesn't look too good for you. So obviously he's not going to answer it. And that brings me to the end of the episode. Oh yeah, and one last thing. This is the shutdown. 14 days, 21 hours, 41 minutes, 53 seconds. The clock continues. I'm not sure if we're going to get beyond a month, but I have a feeling we're going to, unfortunately. So if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new show every evening covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.